I'm sure that you remember the prophet Elijah and how difficult his prophetic life was. In chapter 19 alone of the first book of Kings, he goes against the prophets of Baal. He challenges them to a showdown, a show of God's power, their gods and his one true God. And he wins. But Queen Jezebel is not happy about it, so she sends soldiers and assassins to run after him and kill him. He manages to escape from them, but not without that feeling of weariness or tiredness. And he finds a little bit of shade under a tree. And there, out of weariness, he prays to God, he begs God to take his life. And he falls asleep. But far from God taking his life, God sends an angel to wake him up and tells him to get his acts together, gives him bread and drink, and then sends him to a 40-day hike. And at the end of that 40-day hike, he gets to live in a cave. And it is there in that cave that God appears to him and says, "Now go, anoint 2 warrior kings and your successor, Elisha." So you gotta wonder why, in our first reading today, that given Elijah's track record and experience as a prophet, Elisha would so willingly come and follow him. I mean, it's gonna be obvious that his life isn't gonna be easy as a prophet. And not only that, we find in our first reading today how Elisha responded to the call. He is plowing the field with his oxen, and then Elijah shows up and throws his mantle around him, a sign of his election as his successor. But after this, he kills the oxen and boils them or cooks them in order to provide maybe 18,000 pounds of meat to family and friends. So imagine the surprise of everybody, probably including his parents, seeing Elisha doing all that. But this we have to say, for Elisha, there was no turning back. He literally burned, that is, got rid of what his life was before he answered his call to prophetic vocation. I start with this because I think Elisha stands today as some kind of a contrast, a counterpoint to the 3 individuals whom Jesus encounters on the road in the gospel today. 2 of them said to Jesus, "I will follow you." And another one to whom Jesus says, "Come follow me." But in contrast to Elisha, these 3 individuals come up with reasons, aka excuses, why at the moment they cannot put exactly everything aside and follow Christ. No doubt, all 3 of them were good individuals. For sure, for some reason, they were so attracted to Jesus. All 3 of them had the intention of following Jesus eventually. But that's a problem. Eventually. They had the intention of becoming disciples eventually, in their time, according to their needs, when probably they perceived the moment was already right for them. Maybe after they get all their ducks in a row. Then and only then, "Lord, will I come and follow you?" But Jesus makes a response to them, and his response is pretty clear. That when that vocation appears mysteriously, there is no room for vacillation. Yes, the call will involve lack of comfort. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be inconvenient. But when that call comes to you, you got to do it. You got to say yes to it, not eventually, not tomorrow, but now, today, right away. Look at St. Paul and how he describes the beatings he received the moment he became a disciple of Christ. I quote, "5 times I have received at the hands of the Jews the 40 lashes less one. 3 times I have been beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I have been shipwrecked. A night and a day I have been adrift at sea. In danger from rivers, danger from robbers, dangers from my own people, danger from Gentiles, danger in the city, danger in the wilderness, danger at sea, danger from false brethren, in toil and hardship, through many a sleepless night, in hunger and thirst, often without food." Did he know prior to saying yes to Jesus that he would experience all these? Yes, definitely yes. Yet he followed. He followed. He responded without hesitation to the call to discipleship. And why look very far? The great example of which is Jesus himself. Remember, in his early life, he goes out to the desert and sees his friend and his cousin, John the Baptist, preaching. And for whatever reason, he gets caught into his preaching and ends up being baptized in the river Jordan. And when he comes out of the water, he hears the voice of the Father saying, "This is my beloved Son, listen to him." And from that point on, his life changes. He leaves behind his family, his career, his town, his home, and off he goes to pursue the vocation that God the Father has placed before him. But to be clear, Jesus is not saying you can't have a home. He isn't saying family isn't important. It is. Having a home is good, and family is no doubt important. But he's saying that when it comes to following him, marriage, family, children, home, they cannot be used as an excuse to follow him totally and completely. That when the call to discipleship comes and is given to you, you must not allow anything to deter it or to deflect it, because he gets the priority. Jesus gets the priority. "Oh, I have visitors this weekend and I need to clean the house," and then you forget to come to Mass. "Oh, we have family vacation. We are going to Hawaii." Then you forget that you are Catholic. "Oh, I have kids to take care of, so I cannot help you yet in the ministry." You realize that we can always come up with reasons, with excuses. We will always be busy. But who gets the priority, really? Jesus. The call to discipleship, the call to serve him. Additionally, I want to say that in my 7 years of being here, I noticed that many of our young adults are so attracted to Jesus and to ministry and to priesthood, yet will not pursue joining the seminary, and then the vocation will eventually fade away. Not because there was no vocation from the very beginning, but because they set it aside. Because the thought of what they might be losing or giving up becomes more predominant in the head. "Oh, I'm not going to have a child. Oh, I'm not going to have my own money. Oh, I'm not going to have my freedom." And so I realized that the biggest threat to discipleship is really not sinfulness, but it is really the hesitancy to answer the call. It is really the reluctance to jump in with both feet. Our apathy towards what God asks us to do. It is our constant looking back or turning back. You know, if all we do is to look back and see what we gave up or what we are going to give up, the truth is, we will never move forward with anything in life. And we can lose the chance of seeing and experiencing what else God has in store for us. You know, there is this Filipino priest by the name of Father Ferdinand Santos. He became the rector of St. John Vianney Seminary in Florida, a prestigious position, no doubt, being the rector of a major seminary. That's a step closer to becoming a bishop. And on top of that, in Florida, in the US. So the convenience and comfort of living in a first world country called the US. But last year, he gave that up. And he went back to the Philippines to serve the depressed parishes there. In his Facebook post a few days ago, he shared, a former student, that is, his student in Florida, asked me an interesting question. Do you miss it, being the rector and being here? No, I said, I really don't, not even a bit. And he followed up, not one bit? Strange, right? And I replied, but then I accomplished everything I was asked to do. And I'm glad I said yes, as I learned so much. But when your work is done, and the Lord bids you pack your bags and go on another adventure with Him, you do it. You just do it. Friends, that is our life as servants. We find joy in doing the work. We find joy when the work is done. But we also find joy in looking forward to what comes next. And if we look at the fact that when we say yes to the Lord, you can change lives, you can change others, you can change the world, and you can make a difference, I am 100% sure, more than 100% sure, that you will be more than excited to take on this new adventure with the Lord, with Christ Himself. Amen.